is by Akhtar, whose work is familiar to Seattle audiences because two of his plays have been produced in town recently. Last year was Disgraced at Seattle Repertory Theater, which had a really well-received and very controversial production. And then prior to that was The Invisible Hand at ACT in 2014. So Seattle folks should know his work and his style. And he also is one of the most, and in fact was the most produced playwright in the 2015-16 season, as put out in an article in American Theater Magazine. He had 18 productions of Disgraced happening last season, and 21 productions in total across America, which made him the most produced playwright last year. And so The Who and the What tells a story of a first-generation Pakistani-American family with a patriarch named Afzal, who is a Pakistani immigrant, and he has two daughters, Mawish and Zarina, both of whom were born in the States. Zarina is the older daughter, Mawish is the younger. And Mawish is the one that hews most closely to the traditions that Afzal expects to be upheld according to their faith, which is Islam. And Zarina has departed from some of those ideals. For starters, she has fallen in love with a white Muslim convert named Eli. And she's also writing a book about the Prophet Muhammad and the revelation of the veil. And the book attempts to show the more human dimensions of the Prophet. And it's a book that is largely about the role of women in Islam, and where that comes from, and how it may be changing. And so obviously Afzal and Mawish both take issue with that. And of course Afzal, as any dad would, takes issue with whoever the man is that his daughter has chosen to be with, but in particular in this case, Eli. And so the play concerns those four characters dealing with all of those things. So this is a play that is about faith and how faith intersects with our sense of identity. But the way he gets at that kind of intellectual idea is through a really specific and very universal story that is about a family. So The Who and the What addresses how faith and religion factors in as a component of our identity. And in that way, it gets at something that I think is universal through the particular. But at its heart, it's a story about a father and daughter coming to terms with differences in how they perceive the world and what they stand to learn from each other through the kind of unconditional love that should be fundamental to that relationship. So The Who and the What is fiercely modern, first of all. It's a play that is about the world that we live in today at this moment. And it's also very funny. It's just funny, and it's funny because it's familiar. In fact, I think it's mostly funny because it's familiar, and it's familiar in unexpected ways, and that's a recipe for great humor right there. And so I think that he really uses humor in this play as part of the arsenal of techniques that he uses to make it accessible, to make a story about a culture that may not be familiar to us resonant with the culture that we do know.